What's going on, everybody? Today's video, we're gonna make a custom bracket to mount my GoPro onto this tripod we have here using OnShape and our brand new Creality 3D printer. Alright, so what we're going to attempt to do, I'm going to use my old GoPro kind of as a quick mock-up, because the one I'm using right now is the one that will eventually go on here. But you can see we have this old tripod that was actually used to hang like a white backdrop at our old shop for pictures and stuff. So we're kind of no longer using it. We have a second one over there. But what we're basically going to do is we kind of want to be able to put a GoPro right about here. And I should probably preface all this with the reason I'm doing this is the new shop doesn't quite have like benches or shelves or whatever in an area to get better like picture or videos. So I'll be using this down the road, to make better videos for you guys. So we kind of want to make a bracket that comes off of this and up to hold a GoPro right about here. This camera that I'm videoing with right now has a microphone box kind of coming off of it, so we got to come out maybe 3 inches and then up. And what's kind of cool is you can just print a bracket like exactly how you need it with just a few simple measurements in a program called OnShape, which we'll get into right now. Alright, so we're gonna go to OnShape, and again, this is just a free online software, CAD software for designing stuff. Now, I'm not an expert at CAD software or 3D printing, so if you are, please leave any comments down below that could kind of be a tip for me. This video is kind of just to serve the purpose of somebody who has less experience than me, just as a jumping off point, and then you can just run with it from there. So also, we don't have a fancy screen grab software, so this will do for now. And so here we are in my OnShape. Here's stuff I've just been like tinkering with. Real quick example would be this door hold. So I was having a problem with the door not staying open against the wall in my shop, so I ended up making this little design and then printing out this little bracket, so you can kind of see it's pretty much dead on, so so what we're gonna do is search. I kind of already jumped in ahead of time before doing this video. So if you click public, let's search GoPro, and all sorts of little like brackets and mounts and everything come up. Don't really know what you're gonna come across. I originally looked at this one. This one was kind of cool because on the bottom of it actually has threads. And looking at the size of it, it's probably like the threads that go on the bottom of like a paint pole, like a paint roller. No idea what size or type of threads they are. The problem with this one is if you look at this overhang right here, I would most likely print it from the bottom up, but this overhang might sag a little bit. And a good example of that is these little permanently affixable GoPro mounts that I printed. The bottom of it might be a little hard to see on the camera. Kind of sagged a little bit right here. Wasn't the cleanest. Wouldn't be terrible, but what we're going to do is find one that might be a little more printer friendly. And then I noticed this one right here. So what's cool about this one is that the problem area, you can see they put a nice little fillet or loft or whatever this feature is right here. So when we print it from the bottom up, there's no sharp overhangs or anything. So what we're gonna do is make a copy of this one. Tells me to make a public document. And here it is, ready for us to kind of edit and modify as we need. So let's take a trip back over to our mount, and what we're going to need to do is kind of get an approximate measurement. This doesn't have to be exact, but we're probably going to want it to come out, I don't know, 3 inches before we have the mount sitting there. So this should be pretty easy to modify. Now I did tinker with this before I did this video just to kind of speed it up a little bit. So what we're going to want to do, we're going to add a little bit of height to it first. So what we're going to do is sketch on the bottom, view normal 2, do a center point circle. This one up here is coincident, so if you click the circle you just drew and the outer, it just makes them the same. Alright, so we like that. We're going to extrude the sketch we just did. Whoops. We're going to extrude. I just click over here. You can just click the picture, whatever's easier. Let's bring it up about 15 millimeters. We're going to add it to the existing part, and that's fine. Alright, so now we want to make the, the part of the bracket that just comes off of the back and will mount to the tripod right around here. So we know we want it to be about 3 inches. This model is in metric. So 3 inches converted. To millimeters, 76.2 plus the extra little overhang. Let's just do, I don't know, let's make it 85 millimeters long. Not too critical of a measurement. So what we're going to do is just kind of add on to this, come back, and it should be set. So we're going to sketch on the plane we just drew on, or just extruded on. View normal 2, or just hit this cube up here. So we need to go off to, right now I'm thinking about, alright, we need to go off to the left. So we know we want just make it a little bit bigger, because then we can coincident the edges to the exact diameter. Whoops, wrong one. Escape dimension. There we go, so we're at the exact width. I believe we said 85 millimeters. This one will do 85. And again, there's other ways to do it. You could go up here and do equal and click these 2 lines, but everything's blacked out, so we know we are fully defined or fully constrained. I forget the exact term. Again, I'm not an expert. Let's see. So now what we need to do is make this circle. Because if we stopped it right now and extruded this down, there would just be a big notch right here. So we will do the circle again. And if we coincident the circle to that, boom, we're good. Let's try cutting out the unnecessary bits of the sketch. I think we're still good. Okay. Oops, we don't need those. Alright, nothing moved. They kind of got unconstrained because they switched to blue, but we know we're okay, so we'll go with it. Confirm the sketch. Now we need to extrude. I just click sketch 7 over here. Depth. We need to make it. There's not a ton of weight hanging off of it. So 25 millimeters is overkill. Let's just make it a 1/2 inch thick. And that looks good. Now the last thing we need to do is print it with a hole right about here, so that way it can go right on the tripod. So once you start you know, kind of measuring stuff, definitely get some like calipers, even just a tape measure roller if you're kind of doing rough measurements. So this is a 3.8 something. Okay, so we'll just make the hole 0.4 of an inch, give us a little tiny extra. I did do a calibration cube with this printer, and it's pretty right on whatever you set it to be, but we'll just give ourselves that little bit extra. So 400 thousandths. Let's go back to our converter. .4 is 10.16. So where we want to put the hole, let's just go to the bottom. You'll sketch on this plane. We will come in let's do it this way. We're going to do a construction. And again, if you are a little more up to speed with CAD programs, you know, let me know if there's a quicker way to do this. Let's define it. We want to come in a 1/2 inch, which is about 12 millimeters. And we know we're defined to the midpoint. So now we will take it off of construction line. We're just going to make a circle. And escape circle. We remember 0.4 400 thousandths hole is 10.16 millimeters. So what we need to do is define this. It's actually pretty close to begin with. 1, 6, 5. Make it even. Alright, so now we're fully defined. Sketch looks good. Now extrude that sketch. Up here, you want to make sure you hit remove, because we're removing this material from the model. It's going the correct direction already, and that's it. So there we go. There's our bracket. Everything looks good. Now if you wanted to nicen this up a little bit, let's do that. Let's play with fillets while we're here. So the fillet tool is pretty simple. Just kind of hit whatever corners you want to round. I didn't change the radius or anything. I think 5 millimeters looks pretty good. And then let's beef it up a tiny bit here. So if you fillet an inside corner, it will add. If you fillet an outside corner, it will remove material. There we go. So I think that looks pretty good. I wonder if we can... There we go. Let's save a little bit of material and time by just taking that extra material off. So there you go. There's our finished bracket. So now to get this to the printer, so down here So I usually just hit the tab down here, export. 3D printers use STL format. I honestly don't know. Oh, you know what? We know it's in millimeters. Fine. Alright. So there we go. So we downloaded it as a zip file. The printer comes with this little jump drive that you plug in to the printer over there. I still use that. You can hook it up with a cable and do this a little bit more easily, I think. I haven't tinkered with it yet, so I'm a little bit old school. So, GoPro mount, drag it to the disc. Find it. GoPro mount. Extract. We gotta remember it's GoPro mount because I did some other GoPro prints and don't want to get them mixed up. There you go. Looks like what we just made. So now I get out of all this, and then Creality gives you a slicer with the printer. That's what I use. There's a bunch of other ones. Again, somebody who's a little bit more of an expert at 3D printing, or if you're printing fancier stuff, you might want more options over here. But this works for me for now. We know it is the GoPro mount. Size looks correct. Sometimes it will download in the wrong scale or measurements. But since we did everything in millimeters and this is in millimeters, everything looks good. Centered on the platform. We don't need it to be super smooth or anything, so we'll do 0.2 layer height. We want to, let's strengthen it up a little bit and do a 3-layer wall thickness. And this will take about 2.5 hours to print. All the other settings, I don't really change them too much. I do print with a raft just so it lessens the chance of the part sliding during the print. So let's see, everything looks good. So there we go. Toolpath to SD. GoPro mount part 1, eject it. Alright, print from SD, GoPro mount part 1, and then you'll see it's putting the bed temp up to 60 degrees Celsius. Once that gets up to temperature, the nozzle goes up to 200. So, you know, they're the settings that the printer told me PLA will work with. It's what I've been printing on since I got the printer. Again, I'm new to it. So I haven't ever tinkered with different temperatures to test strength or anything. But again, I'm not really printing end use parts, so that isn't the biggest concern for me. And again, this bracket we're doing, it's only going to hold a GoPro that's a couple ounces, so shouldn't be too much of an issue. So what we're going to do is let this warm up, and then I'll kind of video a little bit of it printing and then the finished product. So I think that's it for this immediate second. This is the boring part, waiting. The printers aren't super fast. Alright, so we're getting there. Bed temperature is where it needs to. Nozzle temp is coming up. So as soon as it hits 200, it kind of just starts doing its thing. There it goes. Alright, so right now the print has started. It's just doing the raft, which adds a couple minutes to each print. So yeah, I guess I'll try doing like a photo lapse on this. We'll see if it works or not. And then, yeah, we'll see the finished part, and I'll go ahead and mount it to the tripod. Alright, so here it is, all done. Should just come right off pretty easily. Now the raft I was mentioning earlier is this bottom layer. So this bottom layer is kind of printed out to give the print more surface area to lessen the chance of it getting knocked loose during printing. So it prints in a way where the adhesion between the two isn't that great, and you should just be able to pull it off. So this is just scrap or trash, and then there's our part. Alright, so there it is. Pretty much identical. Well, it should be identical to what we made. So now what we're going to do is take this and it's just going to plop right on here. So it's a good thing we added a little bit of diameter to this hole, because you can hear it's actually pretty snug. But that's what's cool about printing a hole. We don't have to do any post processing. We don't have to drill this hole or anything. So the bolt itself, I'll probably redo this, just drill a hole and put an actual bolt through it rather than this little tiny rivet. But there it is. Let's grab the GoPro. Now here is a prime example of why I kind of want to get this, because right now this camera is just sitting on a shelf that isn't quite the right height. The light might not be correct, but you know, you kind of get the idea. So the little nut that comes on them should fit right in here, and it does. It actually fits pretty, you know, perfect. Little bit of snugness to it. This fits in here nice and good. I don't have to force it. Alright, so something I do have to change or adjust real quick. These holes, when holes get printed this way, they get printed much more accurately than this way. It might be really hard to see on camera, but it's a tiny bit too small because the layers as they come in go a little bit too far. I can adjust that on the next print, or it's a hole, it's easy enough, just run a drill bit through it. Alright, so we got the drill bit. We will use a real small Allen wrench or something to push out that nut. Drill through. We're not taking much material off at all. That drill bit is only a couple thousandths bigger than the hole. We'll put our little nut back in. Using our old GoPro as a mock-up, because we will be using the one we're recording with right now, but the mounts are all the same. Alright, and there you go. So as you can see, having a tripod that can go, you know, to any height that I want it. Right now, that camera is sitting on one of those little flexi tripods that's only about a foot tall. So this is cool if I'm in the shop and I'm somewhere where I don't have an area to put the camera. So this will be nice. You can see it's plenty sturdy for holding just a GoPro. So that's about it. Let's get you on here and close this video out. So there we go, off of this little tripod and onto this one. Alright guys, so that's about it for this one. Again, as you can see, hands-free. You know, in case I'm kind of pointing something out or describing something, this thing should be pretty nice. I will put a link to the printer in the video description below. I got mine off of Amazon. Super happy with it. It's the Creality CR10S. Again, I'm new to printing. While kind of researching printers and just getting up to speed on 3D printing, a few people, a few YouTube channels that I found myself coming across over and over again. Maker's Muse is one. 3D Printing Nerd is another really good one. And then CNC Kitchen is super cool because he gets into more the mechanical aspects of printing, I guess, like strength of different materials and strength between different printing temperatures and all sorts of technical stuff that I won't get into. So I'll put links to them down below as well in case you want to like really look into this 3D printing thing. As far as the CAD goes, OnShape is super cool. I just taught myself to use it by watching YouTube videos as well. I didn't come across anybody that has like a series of videos, I guess, but there's tons of videos out there to learn all the different things you need to do with the CAD software. So I guess that's about it for this one, guys. Hopefully you kind of learned something. I wouldn't consider myself very technical, but I was able to kind of figure out the CAD stuff and the printing stuff and how I link them together. Again, if you have any tips or tricks for us, please just comment below. This isn't quite what we do, but hopefully you kind of learned something from it. So as always, guys, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next one.